Hi, everybody. John Harris here with my pal Billy Smith. We're from the Cheapseats. And I just saw the Super Bowl prices today, Bill. There's no such thing as a cheap seat, so I guess we're going to have to watch them on TV again.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, the old couch is a pretty good,
that's the
comfy,
cheapest seat
cheap
we
seat.
got. Because they were saying right now the quote unquote cheap seats, which would be the nosebleed sections in Arizona, are $2,000 per. That's the cheap seat. It's 2 grand per. So, Bill, you and I would need 4 grand plus another grand or two to fly out. Rent a car is probably going to cost another 500 for 2 days,
Yeah,
plus the hotel.
yeah,
So, if you want to stay in the cheap seats in the Super Bowl, realize for two people you'd have to drop about 10 grand.
yeah.
By the time you get done with food, car, plane, the seats,
Souvenirs, you name
souvenirs, yeah, because you can't just go and not buy nothing. You
it.
got to have
Yeah,
something. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
and
But
get enough
hey,
food, feed the scorpions, and
feed the scorpions. Yeah, try to get some cactus juice.
yeah,
So, but I was going to tell you something. I forget what it was. Must not have been that important. The good part for the teams is it's in Arizona. The weather will be warm. It won't be an issue. Um, but it's going to be interesting, I think. Before we get started, let's go ahead and thank Dennis um, from Viral
Hey,
Realty
Dennis.
Corporation, my pal Dennis and Graldi at 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. Dennis sponsors everything we have from the public, John, and we appreciate it so much. It helps keep us going because there's a couple. You might think some of these things are free, and most of this is free, but there are little things we got to pay for. I got to pay a fee for Zoom to use it in the way we do. Got to pay a fee for all the podcasts, things like that. To put it on iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify. So there's a couple little fees, and Dennis's sponsorship covers them just about perfectly. So we thank Dennis a lot from Vineland Realty Corporation. Like we said, their office is at 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. So if you're in the South Jersey area, give Dennis a call at 856-690-9482. And Dennis and his crew down there on Landis Avenue in Vineland will, if they can't help you directly with a purchase, a rental, whether it's business or residential, uh, they can get you to a resource that can help you. So um, that's Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. 856-690-9482 is their phone number. Dennis is all excited because he's an Eagles fan, and so he's all jacked up on this as well. So, but thank you, Dennis, very much. We appreciate it. Now we're going to get to business because that's what Dennis pays us for. So let's do that. Last week, Bill sent in his picks, and I did check with him. I didn't lie; they were Bill's picks. You might say, "Oh, sure, Bill was 0 for 2." So, did he really make those picks? Yes, he did. I think he'll admit it. He had a bad week. He had
uh,
a good week the week before. So
you never admit anything.
that's good. We used to say, admit nothing, deny everything, and demand proof. And then once they were putting out video, we used to add and examine the video. So I never, yeah, don't admit to anything. Did you go over to call my lawyer? So, um, unfortunately, Bill was 0 for 2, though he was really close. If Cincinnati had won that game, he would have split, but it was close. And 0 for 2 on the spread as well because he picked both underdogs, which was San Francisco and Cincinnati. Um, I was lucky and got 2-0 both against the spread. I picked Philly and picked them to beat the spread, and I picked Kansas City. Um, how did I get this? Oh, the spread was only 1.5. I was gonna say, how did I win the spread on that? Oh yeah, it was only 1.5. So the field goal was enough to win it. But Bill did split on the over under. He picked the under with Philadelphia and San Francisco. At the time, I thought, dude, you're going out on a limb. Little did we know that I was warming up my arm and getting ready to jump on a plane to go to Philly and play for the Niners. Because who knew they'd be with that low on the quarterback scale? But yeah, you just never know. Hassan Riddick just destroyed San Francisco's hopes of winning. I mean, he's the guy that hit both quarterbacks and knocked them out.
Yeah.
So nonstop guy there.
And I don't know why. I mean, you have a big enough roster where you don't dress three quarterbacks. I mean, I don't know. I don't
They're not
understand.
allowed to. I found out the
Oh,
NFL rules say you can only dress two. What they used to have, and that's how the inactive thing started years ago, was you used to have two quarterbacks that were active. You could have one that was considered inactive, but he could dress. He could only go in if the other two were hurt.
right.
Then about, I think 10 years ago, so I was listening to some stuff this morning, so I looked it up. You can only dress two quarterbacks. And I'm like, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
You should actually, if you're dumb enough to dress four kickers, you can dress four kickers, but you
Right.
can't dress more than two quarterbacks. It makes no sense. So now everybody's saying they need to change that rule, and that was bound to happen one of those days. The only problem was it did happen a few years ago. It wasn't a playoff game, remember, with Denver, when that wide receiver had to go in and start a game and play because they couldn't get any quarterbacks
Right.
when both of their QBs were hurt. And you got to change that rule. I mean, I'm an Eagles fan.
Right.
And I don't know if a third string quarterback that day would have done anything. But you know what? If they're going to have a chance, you should have one available.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
You
you
know,
know,
Christian
and
McCaffrey
yeah,
ran a play as QB, and then they decided to let Purdy come in, but he couldn't throw the ball more than like 5 yards in the air.
yeah, I think they threw the ball two,
He threw
maybe
two
three times in the
screen
second
passes,
half.
two little screen passes to the line of scrimmage. That was it. One was complete, I think, and the other one was complete but gained no yards, and the other one was incomplete. But
But yeah, I mean,
he
like
couldn't
you
throw
said,
the
a
ball. I mean,
roster is a roster, and you should be able to dress
and
whoever
you
you
should be
want,
able to
whenever you
dress
want.
whatever you want. If you make the mistake of dressing four quarterbacks, well, that's on you. But then
Right.
again, guess what? They could have used three, maybe four
Yeah.
Sunday. I knew when Josh Johnson's head hit, he was coming out. It was just
Right.
a matter of, was it a couple of plays? And I'm like, no, they're going to put him in concussion protocol because his head hit hard.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
I knew they were done when he even came in. So I mean,
right, they were pretty
I
close
mean,
to
he's been in
done
the league
then.
for 10
I
years,
mean,
can't get a
he
starting
fumbled
job,
the
you know,
snap right in his hands because he was looking around. He was, yeah, when they had to bring him in, I thought they're pretty much done. But at the time, it was still, I think, 7-7.
yeah. And just imagine that bad omen if they would have challenged the Eagles catch
Mm-hmm.
on that first drive there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it could
Everything
be
that could go
different.
wrong for San Francisco did. They're a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
they're a lot better team than they were able to show Sunday. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame, really. I still think Philly might have, we'll never know, though. Like you said, we'll
Yeah.
never know. If Purdy doesn't get hurt, might be a whole different ball game. So, well, it would have been, but we don't know what would have happened. But you got to give credit to Philly. It wasn't like he turned an ankle on a non-contact thing. It wasn't a bad break. It
Right.
was good D. They took two clean hits and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, for everybody to go, oh, it was bad luck. It's football. It's part of the game. So, I mean, it happened with Hurts this season, and he had to miss 2 games, I think, maybe 3. It
Mm-hmm.
happened with Mahomes at one point this season in the playoffs. And Chad Henne, this is why a backup quarterback is so important. Chad Henne took the team 98 yards for the go-ahead touchdown while Mahomes was out in the first half.
Yep.
That's why it's important to have a backup quarterback that's decent. But you got to remember, I felt bad for the Niners in one respect. Purdy was really originally the number 3 guy. So when you think of Josh Johnson, he's their number 4. Actually, he wasn't until a few weeks ago. He was on the
Right.
scrap. He was on somebody's practice squad,
Yeah.
and they signed him. So in numbers, yeah, he's the fourth quarterback, but he really wasn't. They really didn't have a number four, but you felt bad, and I think San Francisco will probably make sure they have a better third string quarterback next year, whether they
Mhm.
draft it or sign a veteran to keep on the practice squad or something. And it wouldn't surprise me if the NFL changes that rule.
Right.
But you know, but Philly did outplay San Francisco. Think about it. Hurts didn't have a lot of yards. He only had like 150 some yards
Yeah, they didn't
throwing,
need to. They
but
didn't
he
have to
didn't
throw.
need to. Defense took it
They
over and
didn't throw
ran the
much in the
ball.
second half either. So I
Yep,
mean,
they ran the ball like crazy second half, and that's what did it. The other game was though it was close and it was entertaining, it really was sloppy by both
yes,
teams. I think it was just
penalty after penalty and after penalty,
yeah.
and that gets me into the officiating sucks.
Ah,
Simple as that.
hey, same
Not
thing. I'm a
horrible.
Chiefs
They
fan, but
suck.
I cannot deny that was the worst playoff officiating game I may have ever seen. I mean, you've seen isolated calls in the past, but this one for the whole game was just terribly inconsistent.
Yeah, it just takes away from the flow of the game, and
Yep.
it's just
Yeah.
terrible.
Well, there was that third down play, and apparently eventually they got it right, but they ran the play like twice, and the second time when they blew the whistle, nobody heard the whistle, and they actually ran
Yeah,
the play. I mean, they did show eventually that there was a referee running in trying to stop
yeah,
everything because there was and it was all because there was a clock issue.
right,
It's just so you had a clock issue that may have been from the refs because they're the ones that if it's not an error by the clock operators, then
hmm,
it's an error from the officials not telling them to wind the clock or
right,
not telling them to stop it. Um, it was just out of control. And I don't mean out of control like it went nuts, but the referees did not have control of the mechanics of the game, and they didn't have control of the penalties of the game on a consistent level. They really didn't.
right.
They got a couple calls right. One, the pass interference call against the Chiefs was right.
Hmm.
That was a correct call. But there were holding calls missed. There were bad blocks missed.
Yeah,
And I mean, they were blatant ones. It wasn't
and
like just
the late hit out of bounds at the end of the game was the right call too.
that was the right call. I mean, it's unfortunate for him. That kid, I think his name's Osi, played such a great game all day long. He was all over the field for Cincinnati, making tackles behind the line, breaking up passes, tackling guys right away out in the open field. He had a good day. Put pressure on Mahomes a couple times, but that play cost him, and it
Yeah,
did probably cost him the playoff game, or at least a chance to go to overtime.
yeah, because that would have been a 50+ field goal, and I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, it would have
and
been
that
like a
win,
55, 56 yarder.
I don't think that would
Butker,
have made that.
I don't think he's ever made one that long. I think Andy Reid would have tried it. He didn't have much of a
Yeah,
choice. The clock would have probably ran out or close to it.
yeah, and perfect conditions, I think he could have
Right,
had a
but it
chance,
wasn't
but not
perfect conditions in Kansas
those
City.
conditions. I don't think
Believe
anything
me,
over 50.
wind was
Yeah,
blowing around here. It was cold. Uh, and if you look at that kick, it didn't clear by 15 yards. It didn't get to the net. So I don't think he would have made it. I think it would have went overtime. And then it depends. I would say originally on the coin flip too.
hmm,
Cincinnati wins the coin flip, goes down and scores, and the Chiefs don't come down and tie it. It's over.
yeah,
Vice versa. But
yeah,
each team now, I think, in the playoffs has to have the ball at least once.
yes,
That's the good part. So
yeah,
what happened before, if Cincinnati went down and scored, Kansas City would have had a shot at the ball, and vice versa.
right,
And let's face it, last year we saw Kansas City beat Buffalo when they won the coin flip, went down, scored a touchdown, game over. So that's right for the playoffs. I think it should be that way.
yeah. And I was surprised the coach didn't call a timeout at the end there to ice the kicker. I was
Yeah,
waiting for it. I was
yeah, I was
waiting
waiting
for it,
for
and
it.
I'm like,
Didn't they have all three of their timeouts?
No, they had one left.
Oh, they only had one left? Okay. But
They had
still,
one left.
you're right.
But
But
I
you know
was
what?
like,
Some coaches are like, don't ice him because we may not be icing him. We may be giving them more time to set it up.
yeah.
Meanwhile, he's going to be over there, practice his leg, practice his kick. If you call timeout and you wait until he actually just before he kicks it, and then they follow
Hmm.
and kick it, you've given him a practice kick.
Right.
So I think some coaches like doing it, some don't. Um, Either way, I don't think it was great clock management by Zach Taylor down the end, but it wasn't that bad. I mean,
Right.
it was desperation. If it wasn't a bad tackle out of bounds, like you said, who knows what would have happened? Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough nut for Cincinnati to tackle all year long.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I will say, Kansas City's defense came to play,
Oh yeah, because
and
Mixon
that
might have
was
had 20,
unusual.
might have had 20 yards rushing. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, they cut down Mixon's rushing yards. That was huge because that makes Burrow pass, and then you can come after him. 4 sacks in the first half, I think 2 in the second, but Chris Jones was there all day long. He was introduced. He probably knew what brand jockstrap Joe Burrow was wearing. You know what I mean? Uh, and I did kind of like the afterwards. Everybody says, "Oh, the pettiness is," I was all for it because Cincinnati had. When you have your mayor throw insults at a guy, Chris Jones was like, "Don't mess with Arrowhead." Afterwards, he's like, "Don't mess with Arrowhead." Calling it Burrowhead and all that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it was kind of funny. That part
Funny.
was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
The father DNA thing that the mayor said, what the frig was that? Come on. Don't be stupid. Just come out and say, Burrow is Mahomes' daddy. You didn't have to go into DNA and come on. Don't be an idiot. First off, mayors should do just what they used to do. Cincinnati was
Just
known for
that. Yeah.
chili. Kansas City's known for barbecue. Let the mayors have a little side bet. I'll send you barbecue. You send us chili if we lose. And that should end it. Support
Yeah.
your team. But we didn't need a press conference and it was a real resolution he signed too about, we're let this be known as the Bengals beat Kansas City Day. Come on. What you could have done so much more government work with the time you wasted on this.
Hmm.
I don't think the people in Cincinnati paid for you to do that. So draw a line, And I would have said
Yeah.
the same if it was Kansas City or the other game. It doesn't matter. Yeah, have a little side bet. Yeah, support the team in your city. You should do that because they do bring in a lot of money for your town. But this,
Hmm.
who's your daddy DNA bullshit? What is that? Come on, don't be an idiot. And Burrowhead. And let's face it, that made that defense. I mean, you think, oh, those Chiefs didn't say anything about it all week, but at the end of the game, you knew they were thinking about it. You had Chris Jones saying, "Don't disrespect Arrowhead."
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey comes over at the go. Burrowhead, forget Burrowhead. This is Mahomes' house. Calls the mayor a jabroni. I love that. Stay in your lane, you jabroni. That was classic. I'm like, so they were thinking about it, and especially Ryan Clark was on ESPN this morning, and he says the offensive guys don't normally. Maybe some of the linemen would think about that kind of stuff, but the playmakers don't do anything. They stick with their offensive game plan and they do what they got to do. But as a defender, he said, I can tell you the defensive guys will take it personal and they will get more energy.
Yeah.
They will take it out on people. And he goes, and Chris Jones took it out on some people yesterday. He really did. So, I mean, yeah, it played a little bit, but it had nothing to do with the win. I don't think. I think, like you said, some bad officiating. You could try to say it evened out. That one call that was the right one that set them up for the field goal was unfortunate for Cincinnati.
Right.
I'll take it. It means the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, but you feel bad because you hate to see one play. And of course, now a guy or two on his team was actually yelling at him on the way in. How could you hit the quarterback? Why would you hit the quarterback?
Hmm.
Well, you know,
Well,
guys
when you're
gung ho.
catching,
He's trying to make
when
a
you're running
play,
30
and
yards, yeah, running 30
yeah,
yards to go get them.
yeah, and yeah, and you could see he was trying to stop. He just couldn't. He was going. I think he was going too hard and just couldn't stop. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunate. So there you have it. This week we know it's Kansas City versus Philly in Arizona. As of right now, the Eagles were 1.5 point favorites earlier today. That's going to change, probably a couple of times based on things like injuries and little now, the Chiefs lost 3 receivers Sunday. And no word. They think they'll all be back, but no official word yet. And you're talking Hardman, who had just come back and re-injured himself in the same way. So he might be the one that might be missing, and he had just come back. You
Right.
feel bad for him. Smith Schuster went out, and I'm trying to think of who the third one was.
Was it
Oh,
Tony, right?
Tony went out, and Tony has become a threat.
Yeah.
So if any of those 3 guys are out, the Chiefs are going to be diminished. You could see Mahomes was still hobbled a little bit. I mean, that run that he made was outside of one 1-yard quarterback sneak, I think, was the only real run he took off on all day. He did move around in the pocket pretty good. And he's going to have close to 2 weeks to rest it. And that's
Right.
really what they should do is walkthroughs. They probably won't, neither team will probably work out much this week. You rest your guys and then you
Right.
back
Yeah.
into so the Chiefs are hobbled. Meanwhile, it came out today that it looks like Philly will have all of their 22 starters healthy to start. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big
That's
advantage.
good. Yeah.
That's a big advantage. And let's face it, Kelsey, Travis, yeah, the Chiefs tight end, Travis,
Travis. Yeah.
is playing banged up with a bad back. Had a good first half.
Yeah, he was
Disappeared the
questionable.
second half. He's questionable still, yeah. So Chiefs are dinged up a little more than Philly, I think. But we don't need to make our picks till next week, buddy.
Yep, that's for sure.
So we got a week to wait. If you want to tackle some of the other stuff, we've had coaching moves and things like that you know about. Go ahead, let her rip, buddy.
Yeah, Sean Payton finally settled in on the job with the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
They're still working on the compensation what what the Saints will get. Not, I don't know if it's still a first they're looking at, or and
They're
I don't
looking
think
at
Denver.
a
I don't, and I
first.
don't think Denver's got a first unless they give them a next year. 2 years from now, first maybe
That's what they were
possibly.
doing. That's what they were doing. I think it's like a second this year and a first the next year it came out.
Yeah, that's
And
big payday.
yeah, and the Saints are giving up a third as well as the rights to sign Peyton. So not bad, really, if you think about it for Denver. I think that's an improvement almost over any player they could have signed or could sign. That to me
Yeah, I mean,
is huge.
you got a good quarterback on Russell Wilson. I mean, he's
Yep.
better than what he showed this year,
Yeah, he
no
is.
doubt.
He is. I think he was right.
And
How many times
and
did we both say that they didn't tailor the offense to the player? They tried to make the player play their offense, and it just doesn't work.
right,
He doesn't have the skill set. They wanted him to be a complete drop back passer, and you got to move Russell around a little bit. What was the old saying? Let Russ cook.
yeah.
They didn't let Russ cook very much, and you saw what happened.
And they had injuries at running back this year, so I mean,
Yeah, they did.
if
And
they'll be healthy.
they're still going to
We'll
have
see
to
what
get a couple
happens.
running backs. Probably a veteran or two to fill the hole till
Yeah,
somebody they draft comes around and does pretty well. So
yeah. And then the receivers are pretty decent. So I mean,
yeah, they do have good receivers. You got Judy on one side. Who's on the other? Oh, Sutton.
Sutton, yeah.
Sutton.
And they got a good defense. So
And
I mean,
their defense is really good. You're right. So that could be good. That's one of them.
yeah.
We got another
And
one out there too.
yeah, the Niners, can't think of his name, the Niners defensive coach.
Nico Ryans is going
That's
to
it.
Houston for
It's
6
going Houston.
years. For
Yeah, I
six
saw that
years.
6-year deal. That's
Well, you know what
pretty
that's
big.
about, right? That's about everybody attacking Houston for hiring African American coaches and firing them in 1 year, not giving
Yeah,
them a chance. So I'm sure he said, look, I want to deal with some guaranteed money because uh, that's job security for him.
right.
Because even if you fire him, you got to pay him.
You got to pay him.
And I don't see Houston doing that. They're going to keep him. And you know what? I don't care if you're African American, white, Hispanic, whatever.
Yeah,
You got to have a chance to mold that team the way you want it if you're the head coach.
sure.
And 1 year inheriting somebody else's players isn't going to do that.
Right.
I don't care who you are. Those last two coaches to me had no opportunity to do that.
No.
You know, so
And the same thing with the African American quarterbacks. It's just, come on, man. Why do you got to bring it up? I don't understand.
right. I don't understand. A quarterback's a quarterback. A player's a player.
Yeah, a quarterback doesn't matter what color he is.
Right. Nope. A player. It doesn't matter what color he is. It shouldn't matter. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But to others, apparently, it matters.
Yeah.
They don't need that. If a guy's got talent, he's got talent. Now, you were giving me news about Lamar Jackson.
Yes. The Ravens are gonna give the franchise tag on it means they could still trade them, but but they're gonna the tag. I'm not sure. I think goes to the top. What's it? The average
Top
of the top
five.
three,
Average of the
top five
top five.
quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So he's
he's
going to
gonna have
get
a
a
nice
pretty good
payday.
chunk. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have a nice payday. And they can still
Mhm.
work out a deal, or
Yep.
they could
And
trade him.
again,
Yeah.
he can continue to stay there and play for himself, as they say, and see what happens free agency wise. But they can tag him again. I mean, look what Kirk Cousins,
Yeah.
the Washington team years ago,
Yeah. So
get
I mean,
tagged
the top.
twice and then
Yeah.
finally got traded or something.
Yeah, because I think you're gonna the average top five quarterbacks probably about 20 high 20,000. Like 20
Oh, it's got to be higher now.
27 million a year. I mean,
Yeah, because you
that's
got a couple of them making 40s.
yeah.
I
So I
mean, you
mean,
got Aaron Rodgers. They're talking about 50. I mean, when you talk about it, he could get 30 just for this season.
yeah. So it's a
Crazy.
hell of a lot of money. 30 million. Jeez.
Yep. Yeah.
We're doing something wrong here in life.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong here. Maybe we were in the wrong era, Bill. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because even the players back in our day, they didn't get paid a
they
lot.
didn't get paid a lot of money. Them guys ended up having to go out a lot of times and get off-season jobs
Yeah.
just to make things go. So, had a couple coordinator changes too that are kind of big. One, Kellen Moore was fired Sunday and hired Monday. Fired by, well, they didn't say fired. They said it was a mutual agreement to part ways, which is Jerry Jones speak for, well, I don't want you all to think we fired him, but we fired him.
Yeah.
Jerry, I posted something, a picture of a scapegoat, and with Kellen Moore under it. Jerry found his scapegoat. That was
Yeah.
Monday or Sunday. By Monday, he had a new gig, and it wasn't even 24 hours. It was like 12 hours later. Kellen
And I
Moore
tell
became
you
the
what,
new OC.
it's probably a better gig. So I
Oh,
mean, I think
I'll bet you he wanted that because he was interviewing for places as a head coach already. I think he knew there was one left. And actually, I think it was Carolina, so that was off the board. When he knew that, I think he said, "You know what? If I can just get away from Jerry, maybe I can prove myself."
yeah. Oh, you're going with a better quarterback, better
Yeah.
running back.
Oh,
I
a lot
mean,
better quarterback, better running game, and receivers are
receivers
at
maybe
least as
not.
good
Yeah.
as Dallas's
Yeah.
when they're healthy, maybe
Exactly.
better. Because
Yeah.
you got CD Lamb was good, yes, but you go on the other side and you still got Keenan Allen, and if Mike Williams is healthy, you
Mike
got him.
Williams. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then the two running backs and a really good quarterback. Now he just
Yeah.
had surgery. Herbert did, but
Hmm.
it's nothing serious. Apparently, they said it's a shoulder, but
Right.
it's nothing, and it's his non-throwing.
Well, he's a big upgrade over Dak.
Oh,
So I
to
mean,
me, he's a huge upgrade over Dak. Dak is just so inconsistent. Now, supposedly Mike McCarthy is going to call the plays in Dallas. So we'll see what happens. Now, he did call him when he was head coach in Green Bay when they took Aaron Rodgers to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So if it's his offense and he's calling plays, maybe it'll improve for Dak. We'll see. But I think Kansas City and all those teams in the West are going to be in a little trouble because I think Kellen Moore is a real deal as an OC,
Right.
and they do have the talent. If they don't get injured again, I see. I was going to call them San Diego. I can see the Chargers staying in that mix again.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Denver's going to improve almost right away. The only team that might be out of the running is the Raiders
Yeah.
division.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who will be their quarterback yet. Is it going to be Stidham?
Yeah.
We're talking about signing Tom Brady for a year.
Ugh.
Who knows? Does
And they're
Devontae
looking at
stay?
Eric Bieniemy is still out there, and Washington wants to interview him for the OC job, which I don't know why you would go from OC to OC. I mean, but
Hey, well, one of the reasons they say is that so people don't think he's running Andy Reid's offense. Because if he goes somewhere and runs an offense well on his own, then you can say, okay, it wasn't all just Andy Reid. Eric Bieniemy
right,
was a big part of that team. Now, Andy Reid says he is. Andy Reid loves him. He says he can't understand why he's not a head coach in the league yet.
right,
But one of the reasons, speculation wise, nobody I don't think has attributed it to any quote or anything, but a lot of people think he would like to go somewhere as an OC, maybe, and it would only be to show he can run his own offense. It's not Andy Reid's offense. He can, he may have learned from Andy, but a lot of people learn from
yeah,
other coaches. I think it's a shame as well that he's not
yeah,
hired yet. But you still got Indy and Arizona out there, and I think the longer it goes on with those two teams, it could be. And he may have interviewed in one of them, if not both of them. He did get a couple.
yeah. I think he would with both, and I like the kid from Cincinnati, offensive coordinator.
I know who you're talking
I
about.
think the Colts were going to interview him, which that's
Were they?
pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
I can't remember his name. But and there's a team that needs some help, the Colts.
Yeah.
They need a quarterback.
I mean, they're looking at the
Probably need
Giants
one more
defensive
wide
coordinator
receiver.
too, which
Yep.
I don't like defensive guys as head coaches, especially
Yeah,
it hurts the offense. I
yeah.
really
It
do. I
really
think
does. Yeah, it really does. Um, so there ends that part. They're saying Vic Fangio is going to go somewhere. Can't remember where. And it's a contending team to be a defensive coordinator, and it just left me. I just had it in my head. But he was saying not quite yet. Hold your horses. So, somebody I can't remember, so I'll leave it out. I think they were looking at a return to Denver for him as a defensive coordinator, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And the guy that was the interim coach in Vegas, or with the Raiders, the last time they went to the
Oh
playoffs,
yeah.
he interviewed somewhere. I think it was Indy. He interviewed. I'm not saying he's getting the job, but he's still out there getting interviewed for things. So I'm glad for him if he gets a job somewhere.
Yeah, I guess
I'm going to try to look up.
the Raiders are probably wishing they would have kept him. I tell you that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
But
McDaniel's
see, they're saying,
not good.
"Oh, we know it's a long-term thing." Let me see if they hired him. News. Oh, 49ers defensive opening. So they're thinking he might go back to the Niners now that Ryans has went to.
Well,
And he apparently had started there at one point. So that's a possibility. But we'll wait and see. It's coordinators moving around, but yeah, we still have two teams without coaches. The last two. I think the longer it goes on, the better chances is that one of them is going to be Eric Bieniemy.
Right.
And if he doesn't get hired somewhere, somebody's got to ask some questions because what's the deal? I would at that
Right.
point.
Right.
And I think you can't say that it's a racial thing because now you got Ryan's hired and you got other guys hired.
Right.
Unless another African American gets hired, then obviously the question's out the door. But you got to remember, you still got Brian Flores out there who did a pretty good job in Miami. Is somebody
Yeah, I
gonna take
forget.
his job?
Somebody was looking at him too. I can't
Yeah,
remember who that
yeah.
was.
He's
As a defensive
as a
coordinator,
defensive
right?
court.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know I think that's what he's doing in Pittsburgh, or he may have been
Right.
a defensive assistant. Um, so DC might be a move up, back up for him. Jim Caldwell was getting interviewed, but everybody's like he's getting kind of older and he's had a couple health problems, so they're not.
Yeah.
I don't think he's being taken too seriously at this point. So,
Right.
um, I don't know. A couple guys have had surgeries. J.J. Watt is staying retired, though he is all for the D'Amico Ryans hire. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, I heard Marcus Spears saying, "Well, go back and coach that D line, buddy. You don't have to play; just go coach that D
Yeah.
line in Houston, 'cause that's where he started." But
You
I
never
I
know.
don't think he's going to do that. I think the reason he retired is he's too busted up, and he doesn't,
Yeah.
and he wants to spend time at home with his
Yeah. He's
new
got a little
wife and
kid.
new
Yeah.
baby, and he realized I've made enough money. I don't need to travel around. You know, I give him credit. It's probably the right decision for him. You never know,
Yep.
unless at some point him and his wife talk it over and he decides to go back. But I don't think so. I think
Yeah. There's no reason.
there's no reason for him. He's a Hall of Famer already. The only reason would be to get a ring because he doesn't have a ring. But
Yeah.
at this point, if I'm him, he already knew that when he made that decision. So
Right.
I don't think he's going to do that. The only
And if he
thing would he
and if
could
he
go to Pittsburgh maybe and play with his two brothers for a season.
yeah, but they would need compensation because he would have
Right, because
been
I think he's still under contract with Arizona. So
right.
yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't see that happening. Um, other than
And
that,
Arizona may let them go. I mean, if it's a playoff run or something,
right, right.
they
They may
may
just
say,
take a draft pick or something and say, go ahead.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what's the latest on Brock Purdy? Do you know?
Surgery
Is
on
it
his
surgery?
elbow. Looks like
I
six
heard
months he's gonna be.
possible.
Yeah, 6 months. 6 months he's gonna be out.
He's
So,
going to be out 6 months. So you're looking
so
February, March, April, May, June, July. So the earliest he's back is late July, early August. Is
and
that
yeah,
enough time to get ready for the season? No
yeah, I
OTs,
don't
no
know.
workouts.
Yeah,
I think I don't know.
that's good.
DBG's
That's gonna
under
be
contract. I think he only
yeah.
signed a 1 year deal, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to go with Fields and Purdy, really. I mean, but
Trey Lance.
it depends on what Fields. I mean, not Fields.
Trey Lance, right?
Trey Lance.
Is
Depends
he
on
going to be healthy enough? Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the whole thing. Yeah, you're not sure.
Yeah. I mean, they drafted him to be the guy, and they paid him quite a bit. So I would bet he gets the nod if he comes back healthy. And you keep
I would think so. Yeah, I would
Purdy's
think so.
still under contract for a couple more. He's under the rookie
Purdy would be a
contract for at
backup,
least three
but
more years. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think that's what's going to happen there. Um,
yeah,
so there's no reason to rush him back if Lance is healthy.
right, correct.
Let him do his normal rehab. You might have to sign somebody as a backup. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then again, he was Mr. Irrelevant. They might find somebody out there that, they scouted him right. Because I'll tell you what, if he gets another chance, he's
hey, he was 7-1 as a
seven. Yeah, and I mean the one is because he got knocked out of the game,
yeah,
and that's not counting the game he came in and won
hmm
when Garoppolo got hurt.
right,
He came in and brought him from behind, and they won that game.
yep,
So, he's going to be a good young quarterback, I think, as long as he comes back healthy.
yeah, I
As long as that
agree.
arm, as long as they can fix that arm well enough to throw, he's going to be all right. And he's young, so that's the other part. And hopefully he can bounce back from that because he is so young. Rehab won't be too hard on him.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Other than that, Bill, I don't know of any other major sports news. Zach Greinke did sign with the Kansas City Royals again for 1 year. Um, he had good numbers there last year. The thing about Greinke, people were going, well, maybe he'll go to a pennant contender. A lot of people don't remember Greinke had anxiety issues, and it really does play into big market stuff. It makes him nervous and puts him on edge, and he needed to be insulated and protected quite a bit by teammates, coaches. He does have some anxiety issues. Kansas City's where he started. He played there last year again, and I think that's wouldn't surprise me if he finishes his career there or at a place like Kansas City, where it's not the Yankees, it's not Boston, it's not Philly, it's not LA. It's
Right.
more of a low key situation. If they win, they win. But he was with Houston when they won, I think, but didn't quite win the World Series. But he's been with some good teams and done okay. But I think he likes the smaller market towns and seems to thrive. So there was a trade with the Red Sox and the Marlins, but I don't think it was with any major players. Major leaguers, yes, but no big guns, no big names. Other than that, sports-wise,
been all quiet.
Been pretty quiet. The Sixers are going for their 8th in a row, I guess, tonight, though. They're playing good basketball again.
They're playing. When are they playing? They're playing New York. No,
I think they're playing. It's not the Nets. I think you might be right. It might be the Knicks.
It might be the Knicks. Yeah.
Could be a good game. Embiid's playing out of his mind again. There's even talk of him in the MVP race again from nowhere. But he's playing well.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yes, yeah, he is. Yeah. Everybody goes, oh, well, trust the process. He's the only one left from the process. You think about it. There was him and Noel, and there's a kid, he's still on the roster. Noel's still on the roster too. There's a kid, I can't remember his name. Everybody thought he was the offensive guy from Duke, and he didn't pan out, and he got dumped. And of course, you had Markelle Fultz. Oh no, that's who they're playing, because I think they said he's coming back to play for his first time in Orlando, isn't it?
It might be Orlando.
I think he's playing Orlando. So all kinds of things for the Sixers, but the only one, and Ben Simmons was part of the process.
Right.
Boy, is he taking a nosedive.
He's a scrub.
Woo, yeah. Yeah.
That's right, Ben Simmons. I'm calling you out. You're a scrub.
Yeah, scrub with 2 B's, scrub. Scrub. Not good at all, man. And at this point, at his age, there's not a whole lot he can work on that he can fix.
Nah.
Everybody's like, oh, he can learn to shoot a jumper. I don't think he can learn to shoot a jumper. He can't learn to shoot foul shots. And now he doesn't want to take a shot. He looks for people. That's why he's in New Jersey. No, he gone. He gone.
Yeah.
His career.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by the NBA. Yeah, he's not starter material. They're desperate. They can't even get minutes from him. He's fouling out like crazy. So much for that great defender.
Yeah.
And now he's hacking people. He's just the old Chevy Chase line in Caddyshack. He's not good.
Like a horror movie. He's hacking everybody up.
Big 180 on him, man. So Jokic is still playing out of his mind. But Embiid did get the better of him the other night. And then not a LeBron James fan, but LeBron did get hacked the other night on a possible game-winning layup against Boston. He got whacked on the shooting arm. No call. One of the very few times I've ever seen the NBA and the officials admit they missed a call. They actually publicly admitted and put a statement out that they missed that call. The funniest thing, though, I've seen, I'm not a fan of LeBron. I'm really not. Ever since he did the way he did the Cleveland to Miami thing, take my talents to say, shut up. was Patrick Beverly, who I also don't like. He's an instigator. He just likes, but he instigated something perfectly the other night and took out a 35 millimeter camera after the no call on James. Went out that the game was really decided. They were going back in, but it was over by then because Celtics got the ball, went down, scored a basket. No way the Lakers were going to catch up now. Only a few seconds left. It was a timeout. Beverly goes out with a 35 millimeter camera, like Canon or like what I have. It's I forget what you call it, but it's it's got the SD card in it. So
okay.
the picture shows up.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
takes the camera out to the ref and he's going to show him that he missed the call on the court. He like during the timeout, he's like, I got that. The ref tease him. I wouldn't even look at the cat. But it was the funniest thing because it's on the highlights, it's on the film. Here comes Patrick Beverly with a 35 millimeter camera. Took the picture and he's going to show the ref. I was dying. I'm like, that's great. You've lost the game. What's going to happen?
That
You
is
might get a
great.
little
Yeah.
fine. Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, but you know what? That's worth it. If I'm the
Yeah.
Lakers, I pay the fine for him. Screw him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because they did have to admit they may not fine him because they had to admit that missing the call cost them the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he didn't go out screaming and yelling either. That's the thing. You know, usually them guys, especially him, go out. He went out calmly and was like pointing at the camera. Oh, like I'm going here. Let me show you this. You know, it was nice. I was like, that's funny.
He didn't do a Billy Smith, right?
No, he didn't do it. Or John Harris going over to 12 guys by himself going, anybody makes a move, I'm kicking your asses. And then walk away. And then realize, oh shit, nobody was behind me. I thought at least a couple guys from my team. No.
Well, I was already in left field. So
you were way out in left field. You didn't have a choice. I came in from third base. And telling the umpire, don't make me do your job again.
Yeah.
And the umpire's eyes were like this big. Oh shit, this guy's gonna kill me. Hey, oh yeah, blue, yeah. Don't make me do your job again. Walked back to third base, picked up my glove and said, let's play ball. It was like my game at that point. We took it over when I did that, I think. But it was like that was, but yeah, I mean, you would have been just ballistic on that. You would have.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, I don't know of any other sports news that's really worth extending the show for, pal.
Yeah, nah, I'm ready to get out of here myself and hit the hay, you know.
Yep. No picks this week, folks, because the game's not till next Sunday in Arizona, in Glendale, Arizona. Your Kansas City Chiefs will play your Philadelphia Eagles. And how many people would have picked that at the beginning of the season? I don't think anybody would have picked the Eagles. The Chiefs maybe, but not the Eagles. People didn't even pick them to win the division. So that's a surprise there. Give Philly and their coach, Nick Sirianni, a lot of credit for changing the culture, changing them around. Jalen Hurts for all the work he put in to make himself maybe an MVP. He's definitely in the hunt.
Yeah, he's in the hunt, yeah.
In the hunt. A lot of people think it'll be either him or Mahomes. So, and either one deserves it, you know, honestly.
Right.
Because where would either team be without that guy?
Exactly. Yeah.
We found out with Hurts when he got hurt, when he got injured. And we found out I like Gardner Minshew, but he couldn't deliver.
Yeah.
Hurts comes back and they pick right up where they left off. So, so there you go. That'll be in 2 weeks. I believe it's the 14th, Bill. Does that sound right?
The 12th.
The 12th. I think you're right. I think it's the 12th.
Yeah, because tomorrow's the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 12th.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. It should be a good game. I know which way I'm leaning. I'm telling you now, I don't know who to root for. And I don't think I'm going to know who to root for unless one of them talks some really nasty smack against the other. Then I might have to. But as of right now, it'll be tough for me to watch. But I will still make a pick based on football knowledge and eye tests like I've done all season.
Yeah, I give you credit. You've been on the money most of the week.
I think the second half of the season, the eye test has worked. And that's how it's worked the last couple times because I started out slow last year, and I think I've come to the
Yeah.
realization that the eye test is going to take 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to kick in because I got to see
Hmm.
these teams and how they're playing, and
Yeah,
then I can
sure.
pick up. Um, and you stayed in the hunt for quite a while with
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah, yeah. Not making mistakes. I mean, not making excuses, but when you're
Well,
preoccupied with
you had some
other
things to
things, and
preoccupy you too for a while.
that's
And those
tough.
weeks you missed, you might have cleaned house. We might have been
Yeah,
neck and neck. So,
yeah.
um, you wouldn't have lost money with either one of us this season. I can tell you that when I did the percentages. Uh,
Mm,
you still would have won a few bucks with Bill. You wouldn't have lost your house. Uh, with me, you wouldn't have lost your house, and you might have been able to put a nice down payment on a new car.
right.
Depending on how much you bet. But that's the way it goes sometimes, and you got to do what you got to do. But regular season's over. Season's all over for the NFL. We got one game left.
One last game.
And then the next week after that, Bill, we need to start talking some baseball because that's when
Yes.
pitchers and catchers report and
Hmm.
baseball's getting ready. We probably should
Yes.
examine who was better in free agency, who did well there, who do we think,
Hmm.
see who we think will make the playoffs and stuff like that. 7 teams in each league now. Bases are bigger. We can talk about all the rule stuff later
Yeah.
when we do that. So, but we're going to get ready to get out of here for my pal Billy Smith. For Dennis and Graldi from Vineland Realty Corporation. Once again, Dennis, thank you. You're at 634 East Landis Avenue, as you know, Dennis. You can call his folks down there for any real estate need in South Jersey. It's 856-690-9482. Give Dennis and his folks a call at Vineland Realty Corporation. Again, Dennis, thanks. Pal, take care of yourself. I'll talk to you next week. We'll have to make our picks
Yep.
and go from there and see what are all the things that they bet on in the Super Bowl. I might try and come up with a list for us.
There you go.
Because that's outstanding. All the bets you can have on the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some of them are just so silly, it's ridiculous, and some of them are fun to sit back and look for.
Yeah.
So we can go from there. So for anything else you got, Bill?
No, sounds good. It's good to be back, and we'll see you next week. And thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everybody tuning in. Remember to go to the GoFundMe page. That'll be posted again with this post and others either tonight or tomorrow morning. Please remember to do that because things still aren't great, and we want to get Billy's family through all that stuff. We thank everybody for their help, their support, moral support, as well as the financial support you guys have given. So thank you guys very much for doing that. We got to continue for a little bit longer anyway. So, but it looks like we might be making some headway, and that's thanks to you folks. So thank you guys. For my pal Billy Smith over there in his Flyers jersey, they're improving. I love Tortorello, and I'm the one that said, they don't need a coach, they need players. He's got these players playing best they can. A couple more players and they'd be in the running. So, and that could happen in the next year or two if they keep him on. I think he's proven himself to be a real good coach. So, so for my pal Billy Smith over there, I'm John Harris. We're talking to you as we will for the Super Bowl from the cheapest seats we can get, from the cheap seats. We'll see you next week, folks.
Take care, folks.